Welcome to Princetonian Now, the only show, yes, that focuses on Princeton. What happens? What's going on? We're on it. Today with the Princeton Cemetery, established in 1757, still operated by the Nassau Presbyterian Church. It's still an active cemetery, and in my mind, this is a small version of Père Lachaise, excuse my accent, the famous French cemetery that has Jim Morrison and Oscar Wilde. Well, in this cemetery, there's a lot of movers and shakers, a short list, eclectic. We have President Grover Cleveland, former Vice President Aaron Burr, very controversial. Sylvia Beach of the Lost Generation in Paris in the 1920s. She ran a book shop in Paris. I went there. The original political pollster, George Gallup. John Witherspoon, famous Princeton president. And also, of a very lurid fame, the Menendez mother and father murdered by their sons. Talking to again.
Eve Mandel from the Historical Society of Princeton.
I always think of the governor of Maryland. But anyway, with the Princeton Cemetery, as I said before, it's like a small Père Lachaise. The amount of movers and shakers buried here is quite amazing. Who are you going to see today on this tour?
We're going to go and see some of the Princeton University presidents. We're going to see some Civil War heroes and even a U.S. president.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of history, a lot of interesting backstories. Aaron Burr, of course, has been many books on and everything. Grover Cleveland, Cordell. The Menendez family is here, too. Are you hoping to see any spirits? We're close to Halloween right now.
Well, we like to do it on Halloween because people get in the mood to go into cemeteries around Halloween. But it's really more of a historical perspective is the tour with, little fun thrown in. I have a couple little scary stories I like to share as well.
Well, I can't wait to see it, go on it, and I'll sleep pretty well tonight if I take some Benadryl, maybe. But anyway, and what's your website again so they can find out more about more amazing events at the Princeton Historical Society?
You can visit us at princetonhistory.org.
Thank you very much again, Eve. You're our favorite.
Thank you. All right, so our first site is the burial site of the Robesons, husband and wife. You might know the name Paul Robeson. Not everyone heard of him? Okay. A lot of times my students that come on the tours, they're not hearing about Paul Robeson, and we really try in Princeton to share his history because he's a really important part of our town and American history. He fought so hard with civil rights, worked with Albert Einstein. He was an all-star when he was at Rutgers University. And of course a great actor and an activist. So here we have the burial site of his parents. Paul Robeson was born just across the street here in Princeton, where he lived with his parents, William Drew and Maria Louisa Bustil. I'll start with William. He was the father of Paul Robeson and minister of Witherspoon Presbyterian Church, which is just behind you over there. You can see it with white behind the big pine tree. He was born into slavery on a North Carolina plantation, escaped via the Underground Railroad in Philadelphia at age 15, going to the Free State of Pennsylvania. He worked for the Union Army in the Civil War and was ousted from the Princeton pastorate after more than 20 years of service with no clear reasons given. His grandson, Paul Robeson Jr., wrote that his grandfather pushed hard to have his eldest son, Bill, admitted to Princeton University, but was refused because of his African-American descent. He reportedly appealed to Woodrow Wilson, the president at the time of the university, and that caused a controversy and the ouster. He went to Somerset County, moved on from there. His wife Maria was born in Philadelphia, attended Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. She was a Quaker school teacher and the mother of Paul Robeson. By 1904, she was nearly blind from cataracts and was burned in a kitchen accident when the ember from the stove ignited her clothes. She died several days later with burns over 80% of her body. So the location of her grave here is very unique. During that time, African Americans could only be buried in the colored part of the cemetery, which is over back that way. Reportedly, Maria was buried here at the request of her husband, who was pastor of the church at the time of her death, and he wanted to be able to see her gravesite from the church that he was in charge of. So that was a very special request that was honored, and that's why she is here instead of over in the further section of the cemetery. Those gates can open from time to time if you ever go on our African American history tour with Shirley Satterfield. She has a key to the cemetery and can take you all through that section of the cemetery. Okay, you can see this section is sort of fenced off a little bit from the rest of the cemetery. So this is the plot of the Princeton University presidents, originally known as the College of New Jersey, which was founded as the fourth college in the States, and known as the College of New Jersey. We know a different college by that name. So the president at that time was Aaron Burr Sr., who was the oldest grave that we have in the cemetery. Before we go in, I'm going to tell you that all but 4 of the deceased presidents of the college and the university are buried here.
Adam Bierman, now with some urban legend. Growing up here in town, I knew a police chief, no names. We're getting spooky and keeping things anonymous. And he said the Stockton family, the famous Stockton family, that's one member signed the Declaration of Independence. They helped found Anglo-California, etc. Anyway, he told me a story where they went into the crypt when they were interning another body, and there were bodies strewn all about. So they put sand on the floor, and they said next time we should bring a body in to intern in the family crypt, we'll at least get some footprints. I think 5 years later they came back in, they had to check up on the crypt to put a body into it or something of that nature, and bodies again were taken out of the cement walls and strewn about. A very gruesome scene, but there are no footprints. Think about it. Do 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 do. In back of me is the gravestone of Paul Tulane, the first president of Tulane University. Legend has it that he wanted to become, I think, president of Princeton University. He didn't get the job. They packed his bags, went down south, New Orleans way, and became president there. But he wanted to turn his back on the university because of that. So, universities in that direction, and look where his back is.